Hey everyone, no respawns here. Hope you are doing well. So really excited for this one. This is the first of my hobby-based videos. For those that don't know, I play alongside obviously all of my Fallout stuff. I do play a lot of Warhammer, and I do a lot of painting as well. And I wanted to show you basically the core part of most of my models, which is painting this really dynamic rust effect that can be used for any style of model. I'm gonna have my credentials, but basically this is what it's gonna look like before you do any extra layers. This is one of my unfinished Canoptech Doomstalkers. Looking very good. Here is actually what he'll look like. As you can see, I've got loads of edge highlighting to do on this one, and also all of that green glow, but it looks really good. And the reason why I like this is because of how versatile it is. So here's another Necron. This is one of my guys. This is the good man Barbus. I do love him very much. He's a good lad. You can see at the back there, it's a really dynamic and it blends quite well. But, and showing you a different style, here is a Trench Crusade model I did using the same rust with a couple of extra shades. This is my Warwolf Assault Beast. And the reason why I love this is because I quite like that kind of dingy style, you know, that really kind of Blanchito look. And it's just, it gives you something really strong and muted to start with. And it's quite easy to do. And you can sort of do tweaks on it. Again, here's a slightly different one, which is one of my corridor mounted models. And you can see this is actually the same rust, but it's just how you apply the top shades, change it completely. And it's one of those things, it's just so versatile. I love playing around with it. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you the base, kind of how I go about getting effectively this effect right here. And then we can I can suggest additions, changes, but also just, you can just play around with yourself. I was trying to figure out how I describe it. It is, and I'm going to use a Fallout building reference here, it is the pillar glitch of my painting. It's so useful, it's so versatile, and I love it. Plus, I've got a massive backlog of Necrons, so this is one of my, my destroyer guys, isn't it? Right, okay. Scorpic destroyers, that's what they're called. Mind like a sieve. Right, okay, so first and foremost, the paints you're going to need are Warplock Bronze, rather. I am using Citadel color, but you can obviously sub these out for any range that you like, but I like the Citadel ones because they're easy to get and I'm just used to them. So, Warplock Bronze. Got a bit of Squig Orange. Now, you need a greedy blue, and you can kind of use anyone, but I'm probably going to use Sons of Horus Green, but you can use, for example, I historically have used Thunderhawk Blue quite a lot. This one's actually probably dried out. And alongside that, you're going to need lots and lots of Athonian Camoshade. This is one of my favourite washes they get from the Citadel range. I absolutely adore it. And I burn through these like absolute crazy. And there are some extra ones you can use as well. For example, I use, personally, in my Necrons, I'm going to use the Iron Hands. Not in this video, I'm going to show the base, but that's what I use for my highlights. And then, for example, sometimes a little bit of Flesh Shade or even Agrax as well. And if I want to add a little bit of nuance to it, I quite like, especially with my Trench Crusade guys, actually, you can probably see a little bit where I've dry brushed bits of red on the ends. And you may notice actually he has a slightly metallic effect on the top. That's dry brushed brass scorpion there. But let's just jump into giving you the base, because I've been wanting to show you how to do this for ages. So firstly, always give them a shake. Get your dry brush ready. You don't actually need to use a GW dry brush, by the way, especially for terrain. I actually just go buy some cheaper brushes nearby at one of the art stores, just because I tend to destroy dry brushes. And yeah, it is what it is. So Warplock Bronze first. Absolutely love Warplock Bronze. Warplock Bronze. It does tend to need a good shake, but it's, to be honest, fine. Give it a little bit of an extra one, actually. I've got a whole load of these in various... Yeah, there we go. Various states of decay. You're going to burn through so much kitchen towel. For those that know dry brushing, just on a basic level, you've never dry brushed before, you get the paint on your dry brush and you just get it down. So there's a little bit residual. I leave it, when I'm doing the base shade, I tend to get it to about here. And we're not going to do the whole model. I'm just going to show you. And you just basically, I undercoat them black. And you just want to kind of get that over. You don't have to be tidy. This is what I like about this effect as well, is I'm an okay painter. You know what I mean? I'm not like one of the best painters out there, but I'm not bad. I'm all right. And I like this effect because it leans into how I like to paint, which is scruffy yet satisfying. I love these guys, by the way. I think Scorpic Destroyers, I blanked. You know when you just like completely familiar with a unit name and then you start recording a YouTube video and then you blank on what it's called? Scorpic Destroyers. I like these guys. They're quite glass cannons though. I haven't used them as much. I'm trying to make sure I center it. Sorry if I go a little bit off. Let's see, just keep it nice and scruffy. Super scruffy. What I like about this effect as well, and I'm going to experiment a bit more in the future with terrain, is you can replace, I'm pretty much always going to do the bronze with, and the orange comes next, and then the wash, but I might sometimes, for some terrain, replace the blue or the green with some other color, and it will just give a different wash. For example, replacing it with a red, just randomly, would probably be an interesting effect similar to that. But the whole point of this is you want this kind of marbleized, oxidized effect. I'll be quite scruffy with this. I think I've done most of it already. In hindsight, I should have picked an immortal or something, but I wanted something a bit more quirky looking. Plus, to be honest, I really, really have been quite lazy with these guys. I did a thing. We had the Pariah Nexus campaign, like last year sometime, and I painted 2/3 of my Necrons. And then proceeded to not finish the rest. I've got an unpainted monolith over there. I was going to use that for this video, but it would take ages. Right, there we go. Super quick, super simple, easy as. I'm going to quickly wash my brush. When I'm dry brushing, to be honest, I don't usually have a pot of water nearby. What I do is I just finish the layer and I go and put it under the sink with a bit of washing up liquid, clean the brush fully, because you really do want to kind of get the brush very clean. I won't show you how I do it, but ostensibly, not literally, in fact, get that under the tap, and I just do that until it's completely green. So I'm going to quickly go to that. BRB. Right, my brush is clean. Easy as. Literally just do that. I've mentioned before, I do burn through dry brushes. It's a thing. It doesn't bother me so much, but to be honest, you can look after your brushes a bit better than I do. Right, so next we do the Squig Orange. Again, you could sub this for any orange. The reason why the orange is important is when you put the wash on afterwards, it really gives it that quite satisfying, rusty, like, very red, but quite dynamic rusty effect because you're mixing with the green. It works so well. So we're going to do that next. You can also tell that I've burning through this. I recently painted, did basically to this layer, so kind of like that level of a Trench Crusade board, and I spent so much on paint. It was horrible. I also, if you know, you know, but I decided to use Astro Granite Debris, which is one of the technical paints GW use to do the texture of the board, which, yeah, cost a bit, but it was good. So when I'm doing this set, I do tend to get my brush down a little bit further. Like for the brass, for the bronze rather, I tend to kind of be a little bit more. For this one, you want about here. And you're just gonna, same again. You just want to dry brush it over the top like that. Get all the paint on. And you want to kind of just go over the model. This is such just I'm so happy I landed on this. Like, it started years ago with my Necromunda models, because for those who don't know, that's the game I play the most. I'm a big fan of skirmish games. I've only been playing 40k consistently. I obviously played it when I was a wee one, but like in my adult with money period of my life when I can actually buy models. I only really mostly played skirmish games. It's only in the last 2 years or something I've started playing 40k, and I was always on the fence of who to play. And then basically years ago, I got the Indomitus box, which is what I refer to as one of the FOMO boxes. And I was originally going to do it for the Space Marines, but I just wasn't into it, and I'd never bothered. Ended up giving the Space Marines to a mate. And then someone said, oh, we're doing a Pariah Nexus campaign, which is basically one of the campaign books. Do you want to get on that? And I was like, fuck yeah. Got some Necrons, I guess. I'll try those. I am so happy. I fucking love Necrons. That's such a fun faction to play. My first faction was the Canoptech Court, which is a bit more shootier. I've got the Hypercrypt for the next one yet. So there we go. Look at that. Easy as. Pretty much. You can be quite messy with it as well. Looking good. So honestly, you could even leave it here if you didn't want to get the kind of more marbleized look. You could leave it just there. What I would recommend is if you want to kind of keep it a bit more red, do what I'm about to do, but with Mephiston red, which I'll show you in a wee sec. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go dry, wash my brush again. Usually I do the entire squad at a time. So for example, normally I'd have had his 4 mates, or no, 5 mates rather, and did them all at the same time. For the sake of this video, I'm only doing 1. Anyway, let me go clean this wee brush. 1 more. Right, we are done. Got a nice clean brush. Also, I picked this guy up, and I was going to show the start of it. I forgot to grab him. This is my Ambot. And the reason why this one's important, this is one of the first models I did with this specific rust, and it really shows how, in many ways, it hasn't really changed very much, but how it works so well. Fun story about this guy, when the Ambot was first released, I painted this within a day, and I was so chuffed and so happy, and I painted it for a narrative event that my friend was doing. It was like the kind of culmination of a very long campaign. There was a special rule in that campaign where if one of your models got taken out by these weird zombie things, they died. And yeah, he died in his first game. I got so upset that it's become a running joke. I was not a happy guy. On the added bonus, that did sort of stop me getting salty in the future, because I was so upset. I kind of hit my peak. Anyway, so we're going to use Sons of Horus Green for this one. Gotta center it. I love this effect so much. And also, you guys are keeping me honest, because I'm probably going to see about maybe finishing these dudes for the next stage. I've also got their boss man as well, the Scorpec Lord. I kind of want to use them for Hypercrypt. And the idea being that they're going to be shock troops. I want a surprisingly melee list. Right, now how I do this is I do it in streaks, basically. And you might want to do... Actually, I'm going to shake them a bit more. Also, you might want to hear a seagull outside. I live in Brighton. And even though I'm not completely next to the sea, they like to wander. So you can hear the seagull. Wow, that's just a little treat just for you, isn't it? Right, so often with this one, usually let's keep it so I can see. Make sure I'm in frame. You should do it like that. And just sort of, you might want to do a couple of extra layers of this, because you want it to be fairly vibrant as well. Proper shake. There we go, that's better. Because you want it to be noticeable. You can, even with this one, get it a little bit more noticeable. It's kind of a... Once you've done it once or twice, you'll kind of get how much you want to do. I don't have any really rhyme of rhythm of these. I just want to space them out, so it's kind of like marks. Probably hear those seagulls. My microphone's actually quite good, so you might not hear the seagulls, but I don't mind. They're enjoying. Keeping me honest. I can see. Just sort of probably gonna... I think what it must be, I think they must come in when the sun starts to go down. I've got loads of lights pointing at this table. I was going to do it in the daylight, but it's November and it's dark by like 4 o'clock, innit? And it's a Sunday when I'm recording this, so naturally I've been lazy all day. Plus I had to wait for the camera mount for this, my phone. So that was my excuse. They said they were going to deliver it for 1 o'clock. They did not deliver it for 1 o'clock. Right, how are we looking? Looking good. Usually I like to have a bit on his chest as well, just there. You want it in kind of sort of gloops. Yeah, it's looking pretty decent, I think. I'm going to sort of make it a bit more pronounced. I usually go over the bits I've done to kind of, so they're basically so they're noticeable. If, like me, you struggle to sometimes motivation, knocked the camera there with my foot, sorry about that. If you struggle to focus, may I recommend horror podcasts? Because if I wasn't talking to you guys, I'd have the No Sleep podcast on, and I would just be listening to that. I did try and watch Netflix series for a while, but it just never works for me, because I just never pay attention to anything. Whereas podcasts, can recommend. Sorry. Just I've got his chest there. So I've got a kind of like nice even mix of the blue. Now what we're going to do, let this dry for a minute, but it dries surprisingly fast. Go wash my brush, and then we're going to do the fun bit. One more. Right, we're back. He's looking good. Gorgeous. Look at him. Right now, so we've got loads of this. I actually used 4 or 5 pots the other day. But this is Athonian Camoshade. It is one of my favourite washes. I'll check actually. I've got 2 just in case. I've got another one here just in case this one's a little bit off. It looks a little bit, but it might actually just be the pot. We'll find out together. I've just got a layer brush. To us, you can just use the dry brush, but I'm going to be moderately responsible today. Oh, I don't think I'm going to open. Oh, is this the new one? Ooh, how exciting. It also means that the pot I bought the other day I didn't need. I've got, like many of you who paint a lot, I've just got so many paints knocking around. So what we're going to do is we're just going to paint this bad boy on. That's all you do. To be honest, I usually use a bigger brush, but I've sort of emotionally committed to pretending I'm a bit more responsible than I am. And the seagulls suck just as I start this bit. It's fine, I'm going to move that there. Oops, sorry, just gave him an extra wash. It's fine. I'm quite liberal with it, to be honest. One thing to note as well with washes is they do... It might take... Sorry, I'm going to keep it over the centre of this. It might take a while for, like... When you just do it, after even a couple of days afterwards, there's this sort of, like, tacky stickiness, right? It does... Mark my words, it eventually goes. And it might even, like, the glossiness might take a long time to go, but it does go. And I just want to kind of bang that drum. Because often what I'll do is you'll, like, say, do a rush job or something. I'm being, like, properly generous with it. You'll do a rush job. And then, like, you see, I paint the night before a competition or, like, a narrative event or just a game, a day where you're playing a mate or something that you've been building up towards. And then you'll think, oh god, that looks like shit because it's so glossy. Just leave it a bit. Honestly, give it like a week because it just starts to dull over time. Like, I'm just going to quickly be breaking this guy. Look at this guy. Same thing, see? The glossiness, it has more of a satin look to it now. And it's the same thing. In actual fact, I used a massive brush for that one because it was such a big model. See already, you see the way it's... Oh, absolutely. Don't know how I landed on this. It works. It just works. Look at it. And the way that it pulls out and kind of blends in, like those green and those orange bits, just, oh, it's so good. I love it. Makes a big mess as well. So I've got this big piece of, like, black card on the desk. I'll be honest, I'm not usually this responsible. I have destroyed many a desk and table in the years. I'm trying to be a little bit better. I'm just really impatient. And also I get motivation to paint at random times. At some point I need to find a better recording area though, because I'm sort of like trying to not whack the table with my knees. Which means I'm sitting in a slightly awkward position, but it's fine. It's fine. So right, there we go. That's it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let him dry. Honestly, sometimes I might even just use a hairdryer in it just to give it a quick dry, because it is just wash, but you can see already the way that it kind of accentuates. Sometimes what I might do is where you've got those bits where it pulls a bit, like you see it just did it there on the end. Just maybe sort of wipe them off a little bit because you don't want it pooling as much. But to be honest, it's more of a personal preference because you can sort of... Oh, that looks so good. I need to paint these guys. I think we're planning to do a campaign next year, so I might see if I can do it for my Christmas holidays. Oh, gorgeous. Look at him. Right, I'm going to dry that guy off and you can see him when he's not as shiny. One more. And, I mean, he's not fully dry, actually, let's be honest. But a few bits in the joints. But that's basically it. It's such a versatile little effect. Now, obviously, I'm not going to do the edge highlighting and finish this guy right now because it'll take me absolutely hours. It really does. For Necron specifically, because they have all of the edges. Like, and I'll show you actually my, mate boy, Locust Destroyer. I can hear a dog outside now. Apparently everyone's decided to pop on. But what I've gone and done there is I've edge highlighted there. And specifically for these guys, get you curious, I use Sons of Horus green again on where the glowy bits are, and then a bit of Sotek green, and then I think that's it. And then another green. But I'll do a video on that if someone wants. I just wanted to show you the rust for now. But the end effect is so good. This guy looks absolutely gorgeous. As it normally I do the entire unit in one big go, because didn't even take very long. And if you're doing like 6 models, like the thing that takes a long time for these guys is not this shade, it's actually the edge highlighting, the glowy bits. But it's such a versatile base. And as I said, it's not just for Necrons. I used it for here. So how I did the kind of later shades, and that's kind of quite transformative for these guys, and I'll kind of walk you through. I want to show you just because. So I tend to use Iron Hands steel for the edge highlights, just because it's bright enough to be bright without being too overt. With this one, specifically my Trench Crusade models, I actually ended up dry brushing kind of like streaks of Mephiston red over the top of the rust, like after I'd done that shade layer, and then I actually just went all of it over, but not that one, it was with the Agrax. Then I also just went a very light dry brush of this Brass Scorpion. And then for these guys, I actually don't think I did anything. I think all I did was just, oh sorry, that way. I very lightly dry brushed. In the argument, I didn't actually finish them. I very lightly dry brushed, like really lightly dry brushed Iron Hands just at the ends. But honestly, like, it's just so versatile. I'm going to be playing around with it. This is probably one of the best models for showing it off because it's such a gorgeous model. I just wish they were better in other detachments because Canoptech is not very good at stealing objectives, or at least unless you're me, they're not good at stealing objectives. But yes, that is what is probably my best and most essential painting technique. I use it for most of my models because I like dingy, rusty things. I'm going to be playing around with it a little bit more in terms of terrain and bits and pieces like that. But generally speaking, that's the cool one. As I said, you can sub out, for example, the greeny blue for different colors and then put the wash over the top of that for different effects, which I'll probably demonstrate later down the line. But yes, the first of my painting videos, and I needed to show you the most important painting technique I do. I'm doing more of these, so painting videos, I really, this is probably the best example actually, love kit bashing, and I'm moderately okay with green stuff, so I do want to do some kit bashing series as well, as also some just general building series, because, for example, I love my Necrons, but I wouldn't mind to start a new 40k army. I've actually got, and they're just having literally on the side. I don't know if I'll show them, but I might maybe show the painting side. I've got my Blood Bowl, like literally work in progress on the side there. And yeah, just got loads of projects. So expect this to be a semi-regular thing on the channel. And if that is your thing, well then please subscribe. Don't forget to like and all that nonsense. Anyway, I love you all. This is what I might be showing off. Look at him, gorgeous. I'll speak to you lovely bunch soon. You take care.